Imperfect Heroes Podcast is a production of Little Hearts Academy, USA.
You're listening to Imperfect Heroes, Insights into Parenting, the perfect podcast for imperfect parents looking to find joy in their experience of raising children in an imperfect world. And I'm your host, DJ Stutz. Welcome, everybody. We are up to episode 152, if you can believe it. And we're calling this one today, Putting It Together. Everyone benefits when we persevere. So today we're wrapping up our 4 episodes on perseverance. We're going to be talking about some specific things that you can do. We're going to be kind of revisiting some of the things that we started out talking about in the other episodes. And we're going to just pull it all together and talk about why everyone does so much better when you persevere. And that includes us as parents. So before we get going, I would love to have you remember that the 4th Thursday of every month, I do a Parent Perspectives workshop. So we have a Parent Perspectives episode that's once a month on the podcast, and then I do a live workshop. It's, again, the 4th Thursday of every month. It's at 1 o'clock Mountain Time, so that means noon Pacific and 3 Eastern, and then all the in-between stuff. And we talk about our theme for the month, and then we also do some group coaching. We share stories. We come up with problem-solving ideas on how to help our families just come together, be stronger, have those relationships that we all want to have with our kiddos. And so that is free for everyone. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to register so that I know how many people are coming and how to prepare. And so you can register at the website, www.littleheartsacademyusa.com. And all of the stuff will be there. You just register once, and then you're going to have access every month to the workshops. Not only that, you are also going to be able to get the replays of those workshops. So if for some reason you can't make that time, I know people are busy. We all have things to do. But if you still want to get that great information, just by registering, you're going to have access to all of the replays. And so that's kind of fun too. All right. Well, let me start out with a little story here, if you don't mind. 2 young frogs fell into this bucket of milk, and both of them are trying to jump to their freedom. But the sides of the bucket were steep, and there was no foundation. It's just liquid milk there. And so there was no hard surface for them to jump on, just that liquid. And so seeing no chance of escape in his mind, the first frog soon just became so despaired, and he stopped jumping. And after a while, he sunk to the bottom of the bucket and he drowned. Ooh, sad story, right? But the second frog also saw no real likelihood of success, but he instead never stopped trying. And even though each jump just seemed to get him nowhere, it wasn't high enough, he wasn't strong enough, but he kept struggling and kept trying. Well, eventually, his persistent efforts turned the milk into butter. And now, the hardened surface of the milk, because it was now butter, he had something to leap on, and he was able to jump out of the bucket. So what's the moral of this story? Those who don't give up and persevere just may be in for a pleasant surprise, don't you think? So let's talk for a little bit about what we've already mentioned in the first 3 episodes of this series on perseverance, okay? Let's talk about what perseverance means. We talked about that a little before. It's that continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties or failures or even opposition. I thought this was really interesting as I was doing some of my research. And according to gradnation.org, the kids that drop out of school, less than 2% said things like they were kicked out or expelled, or they had family problems, they just didn't like their teachers, they didn't like the school environment. 10% of them dropped out because they got pregnant or had a baby. 11.6% was due to drugs. 17.7% said they dropped out because nobody cared whether they went to school or not. Isn't that sad? That includes their teachers, by the way. And then 25.9, so 1 in 4, just said they were bored. They were tired of it. They were bored. And then 27.6, so a little more than 1 in 4, said that they were just failing too many classes and it was too much to overcome. What if these kids had been able to persevere? So I've worked with kids, teen moms, who were still in high school and helped with them getting through education and finishing high school, and even many of them going on to college. So I used to work in Aurora, Colorado at a school, and we took in the children of kids, babies as young as 3 weeks old, so that we could get mommies back in school. They had to prove that they were going to school, couldn't drop off their kid and go party, but they had to show that they were going to school, and all the way through. So I taught the pre-Ks. I did this for 2 years, and they had to have either a parent who was in school still. Yeah, I had 4-year-olds who had mommies and or daddies who were still in high school, or they just had a lot of red flags, I guess is the word I would call, that showed that they were at risk. And so we were bringing those kids in. There are programs that are out there, but we want to make sure that we have kids who are willing to work and keep at it even when things get tough, unexpected things happen. And so we have to keep going. But when we keep at it with the boundaries and the routines and expectations, when we as parents keep at that, everybody benefits. And so for children, when we have those boundaries and those routines and we persevere in staying strong and holding those, our kids know what to expect and they actually feel more secure. We as parents, and then later on our kids, will experience less stress and anxiety. Our kids are going to do better in school. They're going to achieve more goals. They're going to have greater confidence. And then they're more likely to stand by their convictions when they get some peer pressure to do something that they know they shouldn't do. We as parents are going to have stronger relationships with our kids, but our kids are going to have stronger relationships as they're young with their friendships, with their siblings, with adult teachers and coaches. They're also going to continue having those positive and stronger relationships well into their adulthood. And so kids who persevere, who have parents who help them persevere, they look at the world more positively. They're less likely to feel like they're the victim, but they see the possibilities with the challenges that they face in life. And honestly, guys, those challenges are important for them to have. They grow through challenges. If everything was easy for them all the time, they would be very weak and spoiled brat kids. Know anyone like that? Yeah. So our kids, when they are strong in their perseverance, they rebound from adversity way quicker and more completely than other kids who don't persevere. They have more compassion. Honestly, they have fewer problems like grades, drugs, just being a thug. Sexual promiscuity is down. Suicidal ideation, way, way, way down. And I could go on, but honestly, everything in their life is better. And the reality is, I think one of the key elements to having a happy life, productive life, to be more positive is persevering. It's one of the biggest skills we need as parents to have to enrich the lives of our kiddos. And so much like our kids, when parents persevere, we have better self-esteem. We have less stress. We have less anxiety. We have better health, actually, both physical and mental health. We have stronger relationships at home, also in the work and in the community, with our neighbors, with people we go to church with just the community at large. We are more engaged and more positive. We have more confidence in addressing the challenges that we have in life. And we've got some challenges, obviously. The world's gone crazy, but we have more confidence in addressing that. But we also have more confidence in addressing those challenges that we have with our kiddos, right? We sleep better. There's less arguing. When you persevere and stay strong, there is actually a ton less arguing. Your kids are going to help out more, and everyone is better able to see just the joy that comes with life that is there every day. And yes, even on the very hard days, there is joy to be found. So I want to tell you about a couple of kids, 3 kids. So one is a guy named Bo. Now, Bo is now an adult. He's got 3 amazing kids, a wonderful wife. But when he was 3 years old, he's my nephew. And we were out playing football on Thanksgiving Day at the local high school, Cheyenne High School in Las Vegas. And we're out playing football. And here's little 3-year-old Bo. And I don't know what got him going. I have no idea why he started this, but he started running around the track on his own. He had gotten bored playing with those big grown-ups who never threw the ball to him, right? So he started running around the track, and we started kind of noticing, what is Bo doing? And he went around once, and then he went around twice. Well, that is a half a mile of running for a little 3-year-old with a great big head. He had this big head. It was so funny. And he'd nod his head as he was running. And so his 3rd time around, the football game was over. It became a cheer on Bo experience. And so we were running with him. We were cheering him on. And 3rd time he came around. And his dad said, if you go one more time around, that means you ran a whole mile, Bo. But you don't have to if you don't want to. But if you want to. And he's like, no, I want to go. He kept going. That kid made it full around 4 times around the track. And that was a full mile. Well, by the time he ended, there was another family who was kind of on the other end. We weren't playing end zone to end zone. We were playing sideline to sideline. It was just a family game. And so there was another family down there. They'd stopped their game and started cheering this little guy on and having so much fun. Well, when talking to Bo, I just talked to him recently about that to see, what do you really remember about that event? It's become kind of a big family legend of Bo doing that running when he was so little. And he said, I don't really remember the running, but I do remember the cheering and feeling excited that I got this done. And that's something that he has with him. But he kept going. And I'll tell you what, Bo is an amazing dad. He's got his master's. He's an author, some really good books. And he is just doing well. And that drive to push and continue has certainly served him throughout his life. Another one I want to tell you about is about a boy named Roman. And yes, this is the same Roman that my book, Roman is Bigger, is based on. So Roman is my grandson, and he is graduating in June from high school, and he is the salutatorian of his class, and he is also just got awarded the Male Athlete of the Year for his entire school, for all of the athletics, all of the sports. So Roman, though, he's a great soccer player, and he'll be playing soccer in college, but he also is a golfer. And he would golf with his dad just off and on. His dad would give him a putter, and he would go 3 years old, and he would go out and putt on the green when they got to the green, and his dad would let him. And so he loved going with his dad and doing that at 3 years old. And 18 holes, sometimes 9 holes. Once in a while, there was a 6-hole executive course. And he would go, and he would never give up. And Shiloh would say, are you done, buddy? Are you ready to stop? It's okay if you get tired. Nope. He wanted to keep going. And so this kiddo persevered. So he was the youngest kid on the varsity golf team for his high school when he started with this high school. And he's gone on to other things, as well as persevering in his grades and in his education. And so now he's got this bright future because he started out, he had a dad, both these kids had a dad who would engage them, bring them along. And when they're little, they are so excited to be like us. I know it fades as they get older, but when they're little, they want to do that. It's a great time to get them started on. Do you want to keep running? I'll run with you. Do you want to keep playing golf? I'll play with you. And as they have that encouragement and support and yay, you made it, and all of this stuff going on, it affects them and they want more of that. There's a dopamine that comes in when they have that experience of achieving a big goal, something hard and something great. And they get that dopamine hit and they'll want it again and again. And that's certainly what we want to do. The third is a story. I actually just read about this story, as you're doing research on perseverance and all of this. There was a kid in Philadelphia, I think it was Philadelphia, who had cancer. And he was in the hospital a lot. And he had these nurses, you get to know the same nurses on the same floor. They're on the pediatric cancer floor. And he just became very close to them. And he noticed at night, it's quiet, and his mom would bring in pizza on every Friday night when he was in the hospital to share with the night shift of the nurses. Well, after he got better, he got out, but he loved these nurses so much. He started doing fundraisers like lemonade stands and picking up dog poops, pooper scoopers thing or whatever, to earn money so that he could buy pizza for the nurses every Friday night. And he did that for a couple of years, even after he had gotten better, for the nurses on the floor where he stayed. Isn't that a great opportunity? Think of a child who experienced homelessness, who was in a homeless shelter, and now does a book drive and clothing drives to donate to that shelter where he was in, that he spent time in, and now they've moved on and gotten better. So that when our children are involved in a good cause, they feel it. And with our encouragement, these kids do amazing things, even while they're still young. And I know I've talked about it a little bit before, but there's a podcast with, her name is Natalie Silverstein. You can look up her podcast. They're just short 15-minute podcasts, but she only interviews teenagers who are involved in good causes, who are making a difference in the world, in their community, in their neighborhood. And it's an amazing podcast if you ever want to feel super inspired. Natalie Silverstein is just great at that. I will put a link to her podcast in the show notes so that you can go and listen in. I'm a big fan. If you ever need just to pick me up, I just listen to her podcast and I always feel better. So here's some things that we can do to build that attitude of perseverance in our kids. So one of the important things is we encourage them, but we don't give them false praise. Don't tell them they did a great job when they didn't. You're going to say, wow, I see that you did this, and this, and I'm really glad you did that. How do you think maybe you can do it better or differently and get a different outcome? But don't tell them, you're going to be a great artist one day or a beautiful singer. And we want to encourage them and keep them going, but don't tell them they're great when they're not, because then they know when you're lying. And they know, why is she saying that? I did a terrible job, right? And so you want them to be able to trust you. And so when you ask them things like, how would you do things differently? That makes them think and move forward and come up with an idea, with a plan that they can follow through on. When they come to you with an issue or a problem, start out with maybe, I'm curious to see how you're going to work this out. What are some of your ideas on how you think this should go? Don't just jump in and start giving them all of the answers right away. They will often come up with a better answer than you ever dreamed of, just if you'll give them a chance and you don't jump in with the answers all the time. Give them that chance to think about it and work through it. Then find a way to monitor progress so that if they have a goal, let's say that they want to do a book drive and they want to have X amount of books to donate to this homeless shelter that takes in children, right? Then you can have a chart or whatever that shows, okay, we're at 10 books. Our goal was 100. And so how are we going to meet the rest of it? But they can see that progress that's moving along and be encouraged by that. And then be realistic on, this is how far I have to go. And then maybe with chores, very often with chores, look around and ask, get them used to asking, is it finished? I'm done. Well, let's go in and check if it's really finished. And then have them look and say, what do you think? Or if you have a list of what makes it finished, what makes it a clean bathroom, a clean bedroom, when do I know that the dishes are properly done? Because I've got a list, a checklist, and I can check those things off. And then I can ask, is it finished? Do I look around and I still see clothes on the floor or toys that are strewn about? Is it really finished? Then let's talk about it. But let's be honest with them on what makes a finished project. It's okay to have a break and come back and work on it later, but we want to make sure that they are continuing on until it is actually finished. And so when you make a goal, and I talked about this a little bit, but develop a plan, an actual plan to make that goal happen. So whether it's like money jars to save X amount of money, maybe finding age-appropriate jobs that they can do to earn some extra money. And it can be something like that little boy who was picking up dog poops for the neighborhood, walking the neighbor's dog. As they get older, mowing a lawn. There are many things that kids can do to earn their own money to get something that they want. Whether, I don't know, it's a new bike or a new lacrosse stick or a new snowboard, whatever it is, then they can earn that money. Or you can say, I will match it. So you get half and I'll get half. And so then when you show the progress chart, you can include what you're adding in too. So, you've earned $5. All right, then I'm going to put in my $5. So now we can see that you're $10 closer to whatever the goal is, that that's something that they want to buy. But it's really important to have them experience working to earn something, to gain something. They can learn a new skill and help them learn how to mow a lawn, right? Or how to walk a dog properly, how to make sure you're getting all the poops picked up. Or it could be something like a skill, how to make a bed the right way. Yes, there are right and wrong ways to make a bed. It doesn't mean that things are just tossed over. You know, you pull up the sheets and some fold over, some don't, whatever it is, but make sure that they are doing it properly. Dividing the laundry. I have a video of one of my grandsons. He is 6 years old now, but when he was 3, he was over visiting and he was helping me divide the laundry. I do whites and colors and darks and towels. That's just all I do. And so he was learning, is this a color? Is this dark? Is this white? Is this a towel? And then he is now also getting scientific process skills by doing exactly that because he's learning to classify. What a great thing. And be sure you're, again, monitoring their progress in learning that new skill. So I can see that you remembered this, and that is awesome. So you just have a couple more things that you need to remember. Pretty soon you're going to have this whole thing down. This is going to be amazing. Talk to them. One of the things that I love doing with kids is growing a garden. And even if you're in an apartment, you can still grow plants by a window, on a balcony, on a little patio, whatever it is. But you can grow a garden. And growing a garden actually will strengthen family ties. It cultivates teamwork. You have to collaborate to do all of this. And one of the key things is you're going to have successes and failures. Some plants aren't going to make it, right? And others will. And they're going to start using that scientific process. And they're learning even more than growing a plant. You can do different types of plants, different strains of tomatoes or peppers or whatever it is. But let them decide what it is. You're going to let them help make the plan on where are we going to put our garden? Choose what it is that you want to grow. And then we're going to have to prepare the ground. You can't just throw it in. You've got to dig it up and till it up or whatever so that the ground is soft enough that the seeds can grow and germinate and then come up and the roots can go down and dig in. So once you've done all of those things, you're actually going to plant together. You're going to have to come up with a schedule and maybe rotate on who's going to water the garden and when is that going to happen. How are we going to weed and make sure that we don't have other plants in there that are pulling the nutrients from the ground and choking the roots of the plants that we do want? And so come up with a plan for that. And how are you going to make that? And then it's always fun when you actually get to harvest the food and eat it. But our kids also get to learn like where their food comes from. It doesn't just come from the grocery store. And the work that it takes to actually create this food that we're going to eat. They get admiration for all the people that are down the line that help us have food to eat that we do buy at the grocery store, because it's the farmers and the harvesters and the people who process it, the people who drive the trucks to bring it to our grocery stores, the people who set it up in the grocery store. They don't just magically appear, right? And so they can start learning to appreciate how the world works and where they fit into all of that. But there are other things that you can do. It doesn't have to be a garden. It could be something like maybe build a treehouse or a clubhouse, plan to help in a community event and see ways that you can help out there. There's a great website, and I'll put this one in the show notes as well. It's called justserve.org, www.justserve.org. And I got turned on to this by a friend of mine when we were living in Denver. You put in your zip code, and I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's beyond the United States borders or not. Probably Canada at least. But anyway, and you can find service projects that are listed just in your neighborhood. And it might be, there's several different churches. I know that I've done things for different churches, and I may or may not belong to that congregation, but to me it doesn't matter. People who are working to serve God, props for all of that. And I want to be there to help out them as best I can. So that's a great resource if you're looking for something. Another thing is just notice examples of perseverance that are around you. When you maybe hear a story on the news, or you see a friend, or you're at a game, or you're at the mall and you just see something going on with someone who is just working hard, they keep trying, they're working at it. Notice that and talk about it with your kids and how that affects them. What do you think is going to happen to them when they reach their goal? And can we help somebody reach a goal and help them to persevere and not give up? We don't want our friends to give up on something that is valuable and important. Another thing you can do is come up with a family motto or a family cheer, right? We do hard things. Or there are little sayings that, you get used to just being a part of the family. And that's how it works. And you have maybe 10 or more, just little sayings that you say in different situations that are encouraging. And I'm sorry, shake it off is okay. It's okay to say, oh, you're fine, shake it off. Let's go do something else. And get their attention somewhere else. Let's try again. You almost had it that time. Shake it off. You've got it. It's okay to say that. Just, not uncaringly, but supportingly. You can do those things. And then we know that when we persevere as parents, we're not going to let our kids wear us down. So when they beg and cajole and, I want this, then we don't give in to that. It's going to go away. It will. I promise it will stop. And so when you see kids, and as a teacher, I talk sometimes about this story of a little girl that was getting picked up from kindergarten, and she wanted to play on the playground. My classroom had a window that looked right out onto the kindergarten playground. And Dad was like, oh, honey, I'm late for work, or a meeting. It was a meeting. I'm late for a meeting and I've got to go. And no, I want to play. And she just wasn't letting go. And we're getting her coat on, and, and he's like, sweetie, we've got to go. You're a bad daddy. And she started attacking him with all of these tactics that she had learned. And that clearly worked for her. So anyway, they walked out and I'm helping other kids. Once everybody was gone, I turned around, I looked out the window, and who's playing on the playground? Yeah, that little girl whose dad was now late for what he said was a very important meeting. And so when we don't let our kids wear us down, they're going to learn that tactic doesn't work. And so it will go away. They're still going to try here and there. Like, is this still working? Is this rule still here? Or are they going to let it go? And man, you let it go once, and it's just like that gambling thing, They don't need to hit every time. If they just hit once in a while, it's worth it. And you're going to have more whining, more anger, more cajoling. All of that's going to go on. But when we calmly and firmly enforce boundaries, I'm not saying you need to yell at their kids and threaten them or whatever. You just say, nope, that's not what we're doing. And they can whine all the way to the car. That's fine. Keep whining, but we're moving. We're moving. You can cry here or you can cry in the car, but we're not getting the Cocoa Puffs. You can take a long time to pick up your toys, or we can get it done quickly. You don't set a child off on their own to do a job that's bigger than what they can handle. It's another way to end perseverance, because they just learn to give up. It's too much. It's too hard. But when you're there and say, okay, let's divide this up into bite-sized pieces, right? Let's pick up everything that's yellow first. If it's yellow, let's get it put away. Again, now we're back into science and we're classifying and categorizing things. And so then, what color should we do next? Now you're there with them and you're encouraging them, but you're also showing them that one way to persevere is, instead of looking at the whole big thing and being overwhelmed, let's break it up. That's part of that coming up with a plan, and break it up into bite-sized pieces. And so you get that payoff of that manipulations, and all of those things are going to slow way, way, way down. And your kids are going to know that they can trust you. When you say no, that's it. When you say yes, make sure that you follow through on that. And so they learn they can trust you. Even when you're tired, even if you're not feeling well, you've had a bad day, the rules are the same and they can count on that. I was sitting in church, I think it was just last Sunday, and there was a guy speaking, and he was talking about how when he was a kid growing up, he knew every Sunday they would be in church. If they were on vacation, they would find a church and they would go to a church even though they were on Sunday. And he said it actually brought him peace. It's not that I always wanted to go to church, as a kid or as a teenager, but it was something he knew. This is just what we do. This is how we work as a family. And he found comfort in that, in knowing what to expect. These are the expectations. And then we'll go and do something else that is kind of fun. So here we are. There you have it. It is our final episode on perseverance. And next week, we will be starting on joy, finding joy, right? So if you've enjoyed this series on perseverance, please be sure to rate and review. 5 stars is the appropriate number of stars. And you have a question, you can always contact me through the website. And then I'm on both Facebook and Instagram at Imperfect Heroes Podcast. So that's my handle on both of those. You can always post, send me a message, and I would love to hear your suggestions and your questions. And speaking of that, did you know I'm also offering this no-cost clarity call? It's no cost to you, and it's 50 minutes of just talking and sharing and problem solving and getting some great ideas on things that we can do to help build your family, to give you the confidence and the clarity in your head of what is it that I'm trying to manage with my kids and how am I going to get there. And we have a blast. So please feel free to take advantage of that. And again, the link is in the show notes, but it's always at www.littleheartsacademyusa.com. And until next week, let's find joy in parenting. Bye, guys.